know this is gonna work out for us. And the best part is that no one gets hurt.
We need to find somewhere to lay low. Somewhere off the grid.
Let's go. I don't want to get mixed up in whatever state we're in, Chainsaw Massacre.
What the hell?
Nobody wander off alone.
Xenia!
They're coming for us. Y'all want to get out of here?
Six criminals on the run.
What are you?
Looks like you found yourself caught smack dab right in the middle of an old-fashioned feud.
Trapped between the creatures that roam the night and the monsters that rule the day.
Where are you gonna go? Where?
You ripped them limb from limb!
A hard place. Coming soon to a theater or drive-in near you.
Boom, there you go. That was a trailer for A Hard Place, arriving on VOD on May 27th. I'm Kuya P. This is Nerds Rule the World. Joining me to talk all things A Hard Place is co-writer, director, Jay Horton. How are you, sir?
I'm very good. Thank you.
Definitely. Thank you for your time. I love this shirt, by the way. I just saw that's RoboCop, but he has a hat on his head.
If I'll show it real quick. It's a friend of mine designed this. Let me figure out. There we go. Photoshop. Not
nice. Very good. I love it.
Bob Rose. Little plug for Bob Rose.
Shout out to Bob Rose. Brilliant shirt. I love it. Jay, well, not Photoshop. We're talking about A Hard Place. We just showed the trailer. Where did this gem of an idea come from? I always like to say, Einstein, he gets the apple in the head, but when did the light bulb go off for you and you started putting fingers to keyboard or pen to pad?
Yeah, actually about over 20 years ago. So prior to whenever Underworld came out, before that, I really liked the idea of like a Hatfield and McCoy type feud with two different kinds of monsters. And I initially wanted to do it with vampires and werewolves. And then I was like, this is brilliant. Nobody's ever done a big action movie with vampires and werewolves and horror. And then Underworld comes out. And so I kind of shelved it. And then, years later, I was like, that was a really good script, though. Like maybe if I did different types of monsters. So I, came up with the tree creatures and the reptile-like monsters and the Garden of Eden mythology. And I just thought it was kind of cool to do a monster movie like with kind of new monsters, like a new mythology.
I love that because I'm losing my words. I was born and raised in South Carolina where they filmed Swamp Thing, and I got Swamp Thing vibes from these Earth creatures, if you
absolutely
will. And that had me thinking, okay, so you're probably taking kind of like that light type being, because light gives life, to that, and then this darkness of the vampires. I was like, that's awesome. So you worked with Michael Epstein on this. Can you tell me that collaboration to kind of like finalize?
Yeah. So like I said, I wrote the script years ago. And then just a couple of years ago, after my last movie, Craving, I was like, I wanted to follow it up with another monster movie. So I dust this one off. And I decided, because Michael did some work on Craving. Oh, I'm sorry, Gregory Blair did work on Craving. Used another writer, and I usually don't use other writers, but it went so well on Craving. I was like, I'm going to try Michael on this one, and he really infused it. Like he has a really clever sense of humor. He brought in the dinner table scene, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre kind of homage too. Okay. That was kind of him. And then so basically I gave him I rewrote the script, modernized it, changed the monsters. Then I gave it to him. He did a pass and he gave it back to me. And then I did a final and then directed it. But it was great. Like I really like Michael's a great guy.
I love that. So shout out to him as well.
Yeah.
So now we're making this happen. What I really enjoyed with this film, and as a fellow filmmaker, is you got a chance to play with some practical effects.
Yeah.
Shout out to the CGI stuff. That's cool. But as indie filmmakers, we don't always have that budget. So doing stuff practical, that this is why we love filmmaking. Can you tell me about the production, making this film happen along those lines, and then we'll get on to some other elements of the production.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, it was to be honest, it was kind of a rough production. We shot this in February in Ohio. It was bitter cold, and we got like inches of snow the night before. The snow wasn't part of the script, but I mean, it worked out for us. But it was tough. It was really cold, and when you're shooting a low budget movie, you don't have like the amenities of a big budget thing. You don't have, we're shooting in a non-heated barn. We're shooting outside a lot. We don't have trailers next to us. So it's cold. It's tough, but it also created this like really cool, like bleak atmosphere, like visually. And then the camaraderie with the crew and the cast was just like they were in it all together. So like, and you could see it, like in the characters too, like it all bled over. But it was tough, man. And then, like directing so many people, like it's a big cast. And dealing with, actors with, different methodologies, and like, I like to work this way and this one likes to work that way, and figuring out how to make them work together. Like that's a challenge, but an exciting one, it was. And then, the monsters. So, I've done a lot of horror stuff, and, done a Craving before this was a monster movie. We had one monster in that movie. Well, two, I guess. But in this one, we had, 6 of those plant creatures, physically there on set. There's supposed to be many more. And then, however many reptiles there were, 5 or 6, and getting all those people into their outfits every day, getting the makeup on, like people would be taking them off to do something else, and they got to put the suit back on. It was nuts, man. It was absolutely one of probably the physically most challenging shoot I've ever done. But at the end of the day, like I think it all, made it work better.
Definitely. So if we can expand upon that and maybe give some shout outs to your makeup team, the people that did the special effects, but just that fun aspect of creating these creatures. Can you tell me kind of maybe the stages of the design of what you were looking for from both the elemental creatures to the vampire looks, and getting that right?
Yeah. So with effects, I have been working with Robert Bravo, Bravo Effects, for pretty much my entire career. He started back on my, I think, 3rd movie, and has been with me like all the way through. So usually what I do, like I generally conceptualize the creatures like in the script a little vague. Like I think I referred to them as plant creatures, and I didn't really even describe them very specifically. And then usually me and him, when we get ready to actually do something, we'll sit down, like he'll ask me like if I have thoughts about how they should look or what they mean for the script, like thematically. And then he'll go do a couple of sketches, and like we'll kind of go back and forth on that. We'll pick a sketch, and then he'll start designing. And like I work with effects guys like I work with a lot of people on independent productions. When you're doing a small production, low budget, you can't pay a ton of money, so like you really got to make it creatively worth people's time. So like I like to give people like leeway, within parameters to, do their thing. So like, the creatures they're very much his design, like just like the Craving was one was before it. And he, pre-builds everything, and then, traveled everything out to Ohio, and then, puts it together, and then he executes everything himself. We had an assistant special effects artist on this, Angel Bradford, who was incredible, and she, helped him out all the way through. But, a lot of the times, because we kept running out of people, she's in a suit. So, it was like, it was tough. We actually at one point had to enlist it's a farm, and the neighbors had a farm. They had a 14-year-old daughter who's in a dance troupe. We enlisted their dance troupe to get in plant creature outfits and come do some killing.
Awesome.
Yeah.
How about the vampire side of things?
Yeah,
the dark side. What was that like,
yeah.
and getting those effects to happen?
That one, like those are mostly prosthetics. There was a couple of full masks, but it's mostly just, like whatever, however they affixed the prosthetics to them. They didn't take, like, the one thing about Robert Bravo is, man, he can do stuff fast. So like he can get one of those like elaborate like snake things going in maybe 30 minutes. Then boom, we put them out. But conceptually, they were like the one thing I did tell them, because I had the Garden of Eden motif, and I was like, so I wanted them to be snake-like, so like he worked on that.
Awesome. I love that stuff. I'm a Poison Ivy fan, if you talking about Batman, and it reminds me of that, and Swamp Thing, again, because I grew up in South Carolina where they filmed Swamp Thing. I love elemental type creatures and things.
Yeah, me too.
So with that being said, filming that, any memories of set and any challenges that might have happened, and any pro tips you maybe want to give to other independent filmmakers when creating a project like this, and needing to do so many different things like that and making it happen, how many takes it would take to do something?
Yeah, I mean, it's all about preparation. If you're really, really prepared, like as far as the effects, everything's pre-built, everything's ready. And when you're doing independent things with effects, with gags where, blood's going off or whatever, you usually don't have a lot of takes of that stuff. Because every time you do it, depending on where you are, you have to clean it up, or you at least have to clean the person up, and then before you can redo it. So it takes so much time that you don't have. And on a small project, again, you're doing anywhere from, 7 to 15 pages of material in a day. So it's like, you got to just, keep it moving. So preparation. And then, you get the set, and then you got to be ready to throw all that preparation out the window because something else happened. Like we had a day where it rained. And like we were basically shut down for, I don't know, like 3 hours. And, because of the way the barn was set up, we couldn't really shoot our interior that day either. So like, it cut our day by, whatever, 25%. So, we had to, figure out how to double things up. So we moved into 2 units, and, we had our B unit with our second camera operator, Brooke Hubbs, and he would run out and grab, some of the tree people, and they would go start shooting inserts with them while A unit was doing other things in the basement. And we kind of continued that throughout the shoot. But my big thing though is like preparation. And, most filmmakers when they give advice, they'll tell you don't bite off more than you can chew. I say that's bullshit. Like I say, push yourself. Like when I make a movie, like A Hard Place, our budget was about, between crowdfunding and equity, probably a little under 200,000, but it should have been 500 minimum. Like it wasn't, from a producer standpoint, not the wisest move to make. But like, I want to take those big swings. I want to try, and if it fails, whatever, it fails on my own terms. But I failed like trying something epic. Like if you want to do, if it's in your heart and you want to do a big epic multi-character, different species of monsters, and that's what you want, then do that. Now, if you want to do the simple, a couple of people in a room or slasher movie, and that's your heart, do that. But that's not my heart. I want to do the big epic stuff. So, I say, go for what makes you happy, not necessarily what's pragmatic.
I love that. As a fellow filmmaker, it's like, and I used to ask other fellow filmmakers, how did you challenge yourself? What did you really want to do with this production that you didn't do on the last one to just up your ante? This is how we grow as creatives. Yeah. So I love that.
I did Craving right before this. It was a monster movie. I hadn't done a narrative in a little while, done a lot of documentaries, and I decided I wanted to do 3 different monster movies of, each at a escalating scale. So, Craving was kind of the one monster, one location movie. And then this was a little more epic. And my next one is like about, triple the size of this one.
Definitely. I appreciate that, man. This is how we grow and how we build outstanding. So let's flip it from the creatures to the actual humans that are dealing with these creatures. Let's talk about this cast. Can you tell me, putting this cast together, you have some notable stars in it as well. How'd you pull them?
Yeah, well, the thing, a lot of people always ask, like, how do you get, name actors in your thing? But, it's really not very difficult. If you have, you know, a rate to pay them, and you get a hold of their manager, you make an offer. If they're available, the dates, unless they're Tom Cruise, most of them will take the go. They'll take the role, you know, or they really hate it. But anyway, I'd worked with Felissa one time before, and I loved her. So like she was like a no-brainer. Glenn I'd worked with a few times before. And then a lot of the other like regular cast, non-name actors, are a lot of people I worked with before. I'm a big believer, especially on small movies, in bringing back the same people. And, you know, it's not because I don't want to stretch out or try new people or I'm not gatekeeping, but it's like on independent movies, so many things can go wrong. So you want to surround yourself with people where you know it's not going to go wrong with them, you know? So like that's why I tend to work with the same people, and that's how I like pulled the cast, with the exception of you know, Bai Ling was a first time hire for me, and Lynn Lowry, both of who were great in, you know, totally different ways. You know, like Lynn's this like, you know, grounded, you know, like gravitas, you know, she's been around. I mean, Bai Ling has too, but she's like, Bai Ling is like a force of nature, you know? And she was just, you know, in our movie, she's in the movie within a movie. So, you know, it's not a huge role, but she took it so serious, man. I mean, she gave me notes on her character. Like, she came in prepared, and she was just, I mean, like, I don't want to say, I don't want to use the word crazy, but she's like just so exuberant and unusual. She's a cool person.
Yeah, we're friends on Facebook. She is wild.
Yeah.
She is wild.
Yeah, that's a good word. She's wild.
So the production, let's talk about, you know, we got all these great people together. We got these talents involved. What is your biggest memory of working on A Hard Place, and just some of the fun stuff that came about that we don't see outside of you know, the narrative that you have for us, arriving on video on demand on May 27th?
Yeah, I mean, my biggest thing was just it's the most people, crew and cast together that I've ever worked with on a set that I've directed. You know, it was about I think close to 100 people. You know, and it was just like, and there was like this really crazy communal like feel. You know, like we were shooting on this 50-acre farmhouse, and we pretty much just, you know, like took it over. You know, and we were just there where, you know, we weren't living there, but, you know, we're there all day long, we're eating, and it's just this really cool, like community, you know. And I've had that on other movies, but never quite to this level. Like, it kind of felt like a summer camp, but in the freezing winter.
Closing it out with some of the cast in regards to now it's screening. It's going to be arriving, you know, VOD on May 27th. But I know you're doing a bunch of other screenings around your area. What has that been like, getting feedback, and also from your team as they see themselves, and maybe for the first time, you know, some of the other younger dancers that you had involved, as you said, to be some of the elemental creatures. What has that feedback been like? And you know, just, you know, getting people loving films like we love films.
It's great. So like what I decided to do on this movie, I ran into a filmmaker named Peter Higuchi who does road shows like across the country. So we started booking independent theaters like all over. And I would basically go travel with the movie, play the premiere, like do a Q&A and all of that, sell some merch. And then they would play the movie for like a few days afterwards at the theaters. And so, you know, we did that in, you know, maybe half a dozen, 8 theaters in different states. And then we started doing, he also has a movie called The Occult. So we put them together and did a double feature in drive-ins all across the country, and did that for about 2 months. And that was a whole different thing. I've never seen my movie in a drive-in theater before.
That's
so
awesome.
that was, but there's something, you know, when you're doing independent movies, aside from a premiere or maybe a small film festival run, you don't get chances to see it with audiences very often. So like this really was a new experience, and Hard Place, like it's a movie to see with an audience. Like it plays really well in an audience, you know. So it was really cool to feel the energy, and you know, aside from a couple of sporadic screenings here and there, I haven't had it like on a movie before. So this was great, and you know, and there is opportunities for independent filmmakers to get out there and solicit these theaters, and you don't have to always four-wall it. You know, like they will do revenue splits with you, but you got to convince them, you know, and you have to bring people in. So now, because if you go and do this and you fail, it's going to make it harder on the next guy to get in there. So if you're going to do this kind of thing, make sure you can get butts in seats. If you don't know how to get butts in seats, don't do it.
I love that energy, and I love just that. When I was reading that drive, that you kind of put it out there, you took it on the road, and drive-ins. That's just awesome. And because this is the type of film, this is a popcorn thriller. You want an action horror that you want to see with fans and friends, and just have a fun ride. So with that being said, man, again, everybody, A Hard Place arrives VOD May 27th. Go check it out. What's post vibe feeling for you, Jay Horton, now that you're out there putting the word out? The energy, you're gonna get more word now when it arrives to a wider audience on the 27th. What is post A Hard Place for you?
Well, I just finished. I'm finishing crowdfunding my next feature with the Mahals. We just raised 200,000 for it, and then still going. It's a epic monster movie about a bunch of rich folk that pay to hunt monsters. Kind of like a Most Dangerous Game thing, but they're hunting monsters instead of people. And then different species of monsters. There's like 7 different types of monsters. It's going to be huge, and I'm really excited to see the reaction to A Hard Place, because you never know. The reaction in theaters has been really good, but when it goes wide, I've had movies come out and everybody's like, "Oh, this is the best thing ever," and you have others come out and they're kind of like, So you never know, and I'm excited and nervous all at the same time.
I love that. Well, keep challenging yourself, which is just the most important thing, and keep growing. I really appreciate your time, Jay. And for those that might be listening to this and driving in their car, because I'm on the radio here in DC, giving up my entertainment picks, that might be listening to this interview right now as they're driving in. How can people check you out online, follow you, subscribe, so they can check that upcoming project of yours?
Yeah, you can find me pretty much everywhere at DJ Horton.
Awesome. The amazing Jay Horton. Jay, thank you for your time. As those other projects come along, you start getting in production, I'd love to have you back so I can chat it up and let my people know. I really appreciate your time. And let me remind everybody again, A Hard Place arrives VOD on May 27th. Go check it out. Let Jay know what you think. Hit us up in the comments. Let him know this is how we build, this is how we grow, and we need that vibes as a fellow creative. Thank you so much for your time, Jay. I'm Kuya P. This is Nerds Rule the World.
Nerds rule the world.
Pleasure chatting with you. Love to all my nerds who rule the world.
Yeah. Nerds rule the world.
Yes, we do.
Thanks. Nerds rule the world. Thank you.
I love the nerds ruling the world, so more power to you.
Patrick, what up, man? And yes, they do. Nerds rule the world, kid.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Awesome. Kuya P, Nerds Rule the World. Hello.
Yes, they do.
Yes.
Oh, Nerds Rule the World.
I got.
It's in the title of your show, like Nerds Rule the World. Like, I want more black weirdos on screen, and I don't feel like we ever get to see that very much.
Thank you so much. Nerds do rule the world.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you, Nerds Rule. Love
it. Hello, Sarah. Hello, Julian.
Yes, Nerds Rule. Yes,
rock on. I love it. Thank you so much.
It's good to see you. I love Nerds Rule the World.
But yeah, there's a heavy nerd component, man.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, if you ask me, nerds rule the world. So
absolutely.
And you're right. Nerds do rule the world.
We're just the best.
Yes.
Thank you, ladies.
So much.
Thank you. Yes. Thank you, guys.
Bye.
It's your boy Kuya P. Nerds Rule the World. Thank you so much, guys. I appreciate you.
Do. They rule the world all right.
Yes. Take care, Tony. Thank you, guys.
and I'll just mute myself because no one gives a fuck what I have to say.
Hey, we appreciate you, Justin. Thanks for all your hard work, man.
Oh,
awesome. Well, I'm good. I'm recording. As always, thanks to Justin, Jay, Horton. It's a pleasure to chat with you, sir. So I think I got about 10 minutes, if that's good.
Okay.
Awesome.
You got 20 if you want it.
Okay, we'll see how it goes. We'll see if he gets all my stuff in. I'll see how I can expand it. Thank you.
I can ramble if you want.
No worries. Let's have fun. Filmmaker to filmmaker. I'm gonna do a 3, 2, 1 to help me with my edit, and we'll get right into the conversation about how this all kind of came together.
Sounds good.
Awesome. All right, recording. Here we go. In a 1, 2, 3.